take you over to Parliament as the House resumes sitting today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice to also welcome honourable members to this second session of the 8th Parliament. Speaker, I must admit, just as the minority leader has admitted, that we didn't end the first session, the third meeting of the first session on a good note. And I want to believe that the recess period has given ample time for us to reflect on the issues of the third meeting. Mr. Speaker, in the affairs of humankind, it is a society improvement norm to reflect on one's life cyclically to improve upon performance. We adjourned on rather acrimonious circumstances on December 20th, 2021, after we had held 33 meetings within a 9-week period. Speaker, and admitting that the conduct of members of Parliament on the days leading up to when we adjourned was inappropriate, I think the better thing to do is to once again apologize to the good people of this country for the conduct that members put up in this House. Speaker, I agree with the minority leader that this is a house of debate, and we debate from informed positions, from the knowledge that we've acquired. This is the space that we provide ourselves to engage ourselves in brain power and not the display of brawn. And where we are heading towards as a Parliament, Speaker, I believe is shameful, it's embarrassing, and we must admit. Last week when these things happened, we had a delegation from, I think, Rwanda, which had come to understudy what we have been doing in Ghana. What images will they be taking back home? The Speaker, Ghana is recognized, at least in parliamentary democracy in Africa here, as one of the leading lights. That's why we've been attracting delegations from Kenya, from Tanzania, Zambia, Uganda, South Africa, Sierra Leone. And in the previous meeting, we had 3 delegations coming from these countries. We put up such displays. What are they to report on when they go back home? The Speaker, so it's a dent not only on the image of us, members of Parliament as individuals, but also on the image of Ghana's Parliament, which is headed by your good self, Mr. Speaker. And to the extent that we are seen as a leading light in Africa, it inflicts a mortal wound on the image of Ghana. Because on the African continent, Ghana is cited as a beacon of democracy. At the world level, the Speaker, Ghana is held in high esteem as representing a star in Africa. So when these things happen, they inflict a wound on the image of Africa. And cynics will be saying that nothing good can come from Africa. And yet we have made good advances in our democracy. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, it's important for us to do serious introspection on this, and why, again, we should be standing up. Because in the lead up to reconvening, I've heard some members go on air to say that what happened previously was child's play, and that Parliament of Ghana is going to witness greater atrocities. And one person went out there to say that if we have to kill people in this house, we'll kill people. Mr. Speaker, that is a most outrageous statement from somebody who calls himself a member of Parliament in this house. That if we have to kill people, we'll kill people in the chamber. Mr. Speaker, so let's confront reality. Let's confront reality. Mr. Speaker, the leader of the minority has related to the defense of the Constitution and the defense of the rules of procedure in this House. Those, as I recollect, J.H. Mensah said some time ago that in this House we have two main documents to work with: the rules of procedure, which we normally refer to as our standing orders, and the Constitution. So it is good to resolve to defend and live by the Constitution and the standing orders. My colleague cited the case of voting rights that is accorded to speakers. The Speaker, I can also inform that in jurisdictions where members of Parliament are speakers, in jurisdictions where members of Parliament are speakers, they are all accorded voting rights, except in cases they don't have, they are not giving original voting rights. They are granted casting votes. This week I can cite the case of the provincial legislatures of Canada, of Australia, and the federal parliaments of Canada, of Australia, Malaysia, Speaker, all of them. All the state legislatures in the US, in South Africa, in the Commonwealth countries, in India, all of them are granted voting rights. The Speaker, so we cannot be oblivious of this. But as I conclude, let me say that we proceeded on Christmas holidays. And for us Christians, Christmas represents the birth of Jesus Christ, which marks a period of reconciliation between God and humankind. Mr. Speaker, I believe that when we went on recess, we done considerable reflection on what happened, and we've listened to major stakeholders in this country, including the Christian community, the Pentecostal Council, the Catholic Bishops' Conference, the Charismatics, and the other leaders of Christendom have met some of us. And the Speaker, we have pledged, because so many people have called on us, to engage in greater consensus building and reconciliation. And I think that is what we have to do. Given the circumstances of our times, we can only work to expand the horizon of consensus building and indeed carrying everybody on board. Speaker, having said that, this meeting is likely to travel to the 8th of April. That is the Friday preceding the Good Friday, which will be the 15th of April. And we will have to provide ourselves with adequate space to do considerable work. The Speaker, as I was saying, we have a tall order of business. So let's brace ourselves up to what we have to do. And indeed, there's a tall order. The Speaker, as representatives of the people, I share the opinion expressed by the minority leader that we must find time to console and condole with with the residents and citizens of Apeti in the Western region. I know Nadmo has been there, the Vice President has been to the scene, the Minister for Roads just whispered to me this morning that the place has been cut off. They've done a detour for them, but it can't be permanently. That resort to the detour. What must be done to liberate the people must be done as early as possible. In the meantime, Speaker, I've also seen your own communication to the people. I believe that Parliament will have to join ranks with you to see what little assistance that Parliament, apart from the expression of empathy, could extend to the distressed community at Apeti. Speaker, I want to plead and entreat our clerks at table and the clerk to Parliament, and also the press corps, to be very collaborative in the performance of our duties as a House. And I believe that will begin on a clean slate and work to improve.
One cannot sow what is wrong and reap what is right. One reaps what one sows. And again, I repeat this cliché: whatever you do it for yourself. These are all natural truisms. Please, honorable members, whatever you say or do as a member of Parliament, as a leader, be guided by these natural and divine determinants of life. It's also important to acknowledge that in the midst of the teething challenges of disharmony and discord, Parliament has given a clear indication of taking advantage of the opportunities offered by a hung Parliament. It ought to be clear to Ghanaians by now that Parliament has taken some steps to claw back a bit of its lost image and brand as a willing tool of the executives. This gives a glimmer of hope that Parliament will not continue to be in the belly or a rubber stamp of the executive. I'm not just talking about if Parliaments after this. So whether you are on the right or on the left, you'll be seen as part of governance and inclusiveness in the sharing of the national cake. The unique architecture that Almighty God graciously gifted to the country through the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic must be appreciated by all lovers of democracy. Let's give the hung Parliament a chance. Clearly, there is no opportunity now for a roaring and tumultuous majority vote, which sometimes gets it catastrophically wrong. Neither is there an opportunity to be an obstructionist opposition. The unique composition of 137 members apiece, with equal numbers in terms of the gender distribution of 117 males and 20 females on each side of the House, and just one independent member altering the equation, give this Parliament a unique membership structure indeed. It's with this I call on beloved Ghanaians to know that we have no choice than to comply with the dictates and consequences of this new order, which comes with such a composition. Indeed, it captures one of the four important traditional insignia of the parliamentary logo. Many of you look at the logo, you don't observe it properly. It has four traditional insignia. One of them, my tree is not too good, but I know it's referred to Akofina. The state ceremonial sword symbolizing balance of power, political and legal authority, and legitimacy. That is one of the insignia of our parliamentary logo. This is what has been reflected in the composition of this parliament. What else do you want? Honorable members, another area the A Parliament has shown a bright light is the vigorous implementation of the decision of the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic to permit the introduction of private members' bills. This indeed is and has been a welcome development. I'm very encouraged with how honorable members have seriously taken advantage of this opportunity and are submitting draft bills in various areas of our lives for my admission and reference to the Legislative Drafting Department to process for further action. I commend and urge members to continue to identify these challenges and shortcomings and to assist us to create a legal regime for the country and to proffer solutions through the initiation and sponsorship of private members' bills. Under my leadership and the support of the Parliamentary Service, Parliament will continue to provide the requisite logistical and technical support to such private member initiatives. This is the reason why Parliament must quicken its efforts to create an enabling environment for civil society actors to engage and partner Parliament in the performance of its functions, whilst it takes the necessary action to reform, restructure, strengthen, and empower itself. It is with this commitment that I once more call on and invite civil society and private sector leaders to assist Parliament in the formulation of an acceptable framework on how to formally engage and partner in the performance of our functions. It is crucial for Ghanaians to know that democracy is not a determinant of just politicians and officials in government, but a collective product of the leadership of political, social, private, and academia in collaboration with the people. This is how democratic societies are created. And I'm happy that the call of His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that we should not just be spectators but citizens is the right call, and that must be taken seriously. Honourable members, in view of the way the first session of the 8th Parliament of the Fourth Republic ended, without the closing remarks of the co-leaders and the Speaker, I direct that the Hansard Department should receive the written closing remarks of the co-leaders and capture them as so presented. I also attach my closing remarks to this statement, and same shall be captured in the official reports of Parliament as so presented, as so directs. The lessons of the first session have been learnt by all of us, and we should all pledge not to see a repeat of those violent, nasty scenes, as well as pledge to defend and uphold the image of Parliament. And I'm happy the leaders have taken the lead to apologize on behalf of this House to the good people of Ghana, and to pledge that we will sin no more. To achieve this, I will, together with my deputies and leadership, hold members to strict adherence to the rules, ethics, courtesies, and code of conduct of members of Parliament. We will work to promote orderly behavior and the use of decent parliamentary language in the deliberations of this House. We will now not be waiting for you to be raising point of order. Any of us presiding would at any time call members to disorder when you use unparliamentary language. And I can assure you, more efforts will be put into organizing forums and workshops to enlighten members on these rules, norms, and ethics of civil behavior and conduct during parliamentary deliberations. Parliament will do all it can to create an environment for a collective effort to educate and inculcate the culture of democratic society in this country. I reiterate the need for members to constantly refer to the literature and publications of the House on these matters and interact with their constituents on the values and principles of good behavior and conduct. With this, I once more warmly welcome all of you from the recess to the second session of the 8th Parliament of the Fourth Republic of Ghana. May the Almighty God, in whom I have most trust, continue to bless Ghana and all Ghanaians. And I wish all a productive and fulfilling session. Thank you for your patience, your endurance, and the listening ear. I thank you so much.
My name is Kujo Yankson. Let me tell you how to turn back time. You can now bring back all the fun, all the excitement, all the controversy of the Super Morning Show and all your favorite Joy shows when you go to myjoyonline.com/podcasts. Just select your favorite show and bring it all back again. Joy 99.7 FM, radio for discerning listeners.
It's radio. Joy 99.7.
With the NCA for the SIM registration purposes. And again, legally, they argue in that 13th letter that they are mandated by law to do the SIM registration exercise. So the Professor couldn't have been supporting the SIM registration exercise when in his own statement, signed by his head of corporate affairs, says they still stand by the content of the letter that they wrote on the 13th. And that letter simply says that technically they cannot vouch for the efficacy of the current SIM registration exercise, and legally they should be in charge of the registration exercise. I just thought that this record has to be put straight, because this indeed is a house of record. I thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Well, in view of what you just raised, I'll give the opportunity to the Minister for Communications to at least comment on what you said and maybe set the record straight. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, no law in this land has given the NIA the sole authority to conduct SIM registration in this country. No law in this land. And I would challenge the member who just said that the NIA is the one by law with sole responsibility to conduct SIM registration to indicate where in the NIA's own letter it says so. The NIA is mandated by law to collect biometrics for the purpose of issuing a national identification card. The law also requires certain activities to be done if you require verification of the identity of the person to use the national ID card as the sole card for that purposes. And so there is no law in this country which has given the NIA the authority to conduct SIM registration in this land. The SIM registration regulations makes it mandatory for only registered SIMs to be activated by any network operator. So any SIM which is not registered, which is activated for use on any network in this country, is being used illegally. We are seeking to correct that illegal use of SIM cards in this country by the regulator of mobile network operators in this country, acting under its authority, under the law, the National Communications Authority law, the SIM registration regulations, to direct that all SIMs in this country be registered for use on networks in this country. That is the prerogative of the National Communications Authority, working in conjunction with the mobile network operators. And that is the state of the law in this country. I have refrained from contributing to the discussions on this matter because I know that this matter is the subject of a lawsuit currently pending. And so I will restrict my comments to correct the false impression created on the floor of this House, which is the House of Record, that the NIA has said anywhere that it is the sole authority mandated by law to conduct SIM registration in this country. That is not factual, and that is not a statement of the facts or the law in this country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the report submitted by the Business Committee, subject to the comments that have been made by members, shall be deemed to have been adopted by this House for the purpose of guiding us in the conduct of our business during the course of the week. We know by our rules, during the course of the week, other urgent businesses could be introduced on a daily basis after due consultations on the order paper of the day. So let's adopt this. But notice has been given by many of you of the urgent need for the Business Committee to consider earlier businesses that are before the House, which are yet not concluded. And the Business Committee is being called upon to program those businesses for the due conclusion by the House. But there are also areas that members must realize that the Business Committee doesn't generate the business. We have this House not only government business, we also have Parliament business, and we have private business. It's a government business that the majority leader and leader of the House is in charge, not the other businesses. The Parliament business and private businesses are usually routed through the due authorities, including the Speaker, for admission. It's after they've been admitted that they are then referred to the Business Committee to be programmed for the House. And so it's not all that just go to the Business Committee through the leader of government business. And so some of the things that I refer to are things that must come through me as Speaker for consideration and possibly referral to the Business Committee. This matter of appointment of the auditor to audit the accounts of the Auditor General is a matter to be dealt with by the House. We're trying to get the best procedure of implementing that. It's not by the Speaker, neither is it by the Parliamentary Service Board. The Constitution says it's by Parliament. The appointment is by Parliament. And so we are consulting to iron out the detailed mechanisms and processes and procedures to adopt to make sure that the decision is that is taken by Parliament, not by any individual or component of Parliament. With regard to the issue of the message on the state of the nation, yes, Article 67 is very clear that the President should present a message on the state of the nation to the House. But how is this done? The President can be ready to come to submit. Parliament may not be ready to receive it. Parliament will have to be consulted to program the day that the President will come to present the message on the state of the nation. It's not for nothing that when somebody is about to enter your room, at least the person says, "I go." You just don't walk in. These are good practices that are adopted when you are formulating laws. And so, yes, the President is duly consulting Parliament on this matter, and the date will be fixed, and the President will come to present the message on the state of the nation. So with this, I urge the Business Committee to kindly capture the other pending businesses for the consideration of the House. A Business Committee for the week is therefore duly adopted. Now, honorable members, we have, with your kind permission, two statements that are quite important, which I believe even your comments have underscored the importance and agency of those statements. One is coming from the Minister in charge of lands and natural resources, and is in connection with the national disaster, which you referred to. And I think it's appropriate I give him the time now to make the statement. So we are now at item 6 on the order paper, which is statements. The urgent questions will be taken later, and the Honourable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to make the statement. Honourable Minister, you are welcome.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to make this important statement on the tragic Apiati incident. On Thursday, 20th January 2022, a deadly disaster befell our nation. A truck carrying explosives for mining from the site of Maxim Ghana Limited, a company registered and licensed by the Minerals Commission to provide mine support services in the nature of supply of explosives to Chirano Gold Mines Limited, a large-scale mining company, was involved in a tragic event, resulting in an explosion that led to the loss of lives and extensive destruction to property in Apiati, a community in the Pristia Huni Valley district of the Western region. Mr. Speaker, preliminary investigations have established that Maxim Ghana Limited had subcontracted the transportation of the explosives to a company called José Logistics Limited, another company registered and licensed by the Minerals Commission to provide mine support services in the nature of clearing, warehousing, and transportation of explosives for mining. Initial reports from officials of the Minerals Commission and officers of the security agencies indicate that the incident occurred when the truck carrying the explosives collided with a tricycle at the section of the road in Apiati along the Bogoso-Bodia highway. The impact of the collision resulted in a spark which caused a chain of reaction of explosions, bringing about the devastation to the town, which we have all seen. As at Monday, 24th January 2022, 13 people had been confirmed dead, and at least 100 people sustained various degrees of injuries. The impact of the explosion also caused considerable damage to several buildings in the community, rendering many families homeless. Mr. Speaker, on the instructions of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the security services and other organs of state, including the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana National Fire Service, the Ghana Ambulance Service, the National Disaster Management Organization, and the Minerals Commission responded quickly to the incident, helping to save many lives and property in the ensuing issue. The response of government, indeed, Mr. Speaker, was swift and robust. Again, Mr. Speaker, on the instructions of the President of the Republic, a delegation from government led by the Vice President, His Excellency Alhaji Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia, which included my good self, the Ministers for Interior and Information, the Inspector General of Police, officials of the Minerals Commission, and other senior officers of our security services, visited the community to assess for ourselves the impact of the explosion and to commiserate with the victims of this horrific disaster. The delegation received briefings from the security personnel on the ground, visited the site of the explosion, as well as the injured in hospitals and displaced people. Government has decided to pay in full the medical bills of all those who were injured in this incident. The explosion destroyed a portion of the road, making transportation to and from other communities through Apiati very difficult. Already, Mr. Speaker, government through the Ministry of Roads and Highways has commenced repair works on the road to make it motorable. Mr. Speaker, the conveyance, storage, possession, manufacture, and the use of explosives and substances used for the manufacturing of explosives for mining, quarrying, and other civil works are governed by the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, and the Minerals and Mining Explosives Regulations 2012, LI 2177. The law provides strict regulations for dealing in explosives, including the appointment of competent explosive managers who must be certified by the Minerals Commission. The packaging and marking of explosives must be in accordance with the recommendations of the United Nations Committee of Experts on the Transport of Dangerous Goods, and the transportation must be by a vehicle approved by the Chief Inspector of Mines. The law also requires that the vehicle be in a sound working condition with no patent effects, propelled by diesel, provided with 2 fire extinguishers that are readily available for use, has adequate bonding between the chassis and the body, and is fitted with 2 earthing chains adequately bonded to the chassis and maintained between the chassis and the ground. No other materials are to be carried in the compartment containing the explosives, and that compartment must be totally enclosed, covered with sheet metal, and lined internally with wood treated in a manner that renders it non-inflammable. The vehicle carrying the explosives must move only between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Use a direct and fastest route unless a less densely populated route is available, and not drive at more than 60 kilometers per hour. The vehicle must be accompanied by a competent person certified by the Minerals Commission and a police escort, and shall not stop at any time of the transportation unless to avoid an accident or to comply with traffic regulations. Mr. Speaker, Regulation 2 of LI 2177 makes the Chief Inspector of Mines the Chief Inspector of Explosives and is responsible for ensuring compliance with the law. Mr. Speaker, the security agencies are carrying out investigations into this matter to ascertain the actual cause of the incident as well as the event in its immediate aftermath. The Minerals Commission is also carrying out its investigations to determine whether or not LI 2177 was complied with in the packaging, loading, marking, and transportation of the goods, the subject matter of the incident. To ensure fair and impartial investigations into and non-interference in the matter, on Friday, 21st February 2021, I, as the Minister responsible for lands and natural resources, directed the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission to interdict the Chief Inspector of Mines, who, as I indicated earlier, doubles as the Chief Inspector of Explosives, pending the conclusion of investigations into this matter. I further directed that the registration of Mazam Ghana Limited with the Minerals Commission be suspended whilst investigations are conducted into the mode of their operations. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to these instructions, mine inspectors from the Minerals Commission on Saturday, 23rd January 2022, closed down Maxam Company Limited and stationed 2 mine inspectors there to guard the facility day and night. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, Monday, 24th January 2022, I received a preliminary draft report from the Minerals Commission. Following this report, I have since directed the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission to suspend the registration with the Minerals Commission of Josedek Logistics Limited, the subcontractor that was transporting the explosives. Investigations are ongoing to ensure that no breach of the regulations is allowed to go unpunished. Mr. Speaker, I expect the final report on this matter soon, and this will inform the next courses of action. Mr. Speaker, I have held separate meetings with management of Maxam Ghana Limited, Chirano Gold Mines Limited, and the leadership of the Ghana Chamber of Mines to discuss matters pertaining to health and safety in the mining industry and how to avoid such future occurrences. Mr. Speaker, government has decided to establish an Apiety support fund to mobilize sufficient funds from across the country in order to, amongst others, support the victims of the incident and reconstruct Apiety Township. This morning, on the instructions of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, I inaugurated a 5-member committee chaired by a distinguished and eminent Ghanaian stateswoman, Reverend Dr. Joyce Ayi, the founder of Salt and Light Ministries, and a former Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Mines to manage the fund. Mr. Speaker, let this House be rest assured, the Apiety community will be rebuilt. I, also pursuant to Section 101 of the Minerals and Mining Act 206 at 703, intend to establish a ministerial committee of inquiry which will examine the entire health and safety regime of mining in Ghana and make recommendations for legislative and policy reforms. The committee will be given 1 month to present its report. Mr. Speaker, it is imperative that out of this calamitous event, we work to draw useful lessons and get to a situation where we can confidently say, never again. Mr. Speaker, we are grateful to the officials of the security agencies and other state agencies, including the National Ambulance Service and the National Disaster Management Organization, for their brave and patriotic work. We are told, for instance, Mr. Speaker, that the response of the National Ambulance Service, which now has an ambulance in each constituency of our country, was swift. But for their rapid response and the help of ambulances of nearby constituencies, the situation would have been worse. We are also grateful to those individuals who volunteered to communicate to the people of the community to move away from the scene, and those who volunteered to donate blood at the various hospitals to support the injured. We pray that the good Lord replenishes everything they have lost. Let me use this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to assure this august House that investigations into this matter will be thorough, comprehensive, candid, fair, and will be done in accordance with the highest standards of integrity and transparency. Anyone found culpable will be made to face the full rigors of the law. Government, through the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, is also committed to implementing the necessary recommendations that will come out of these investigations. The Ministry is committed to ensuring that mining and indeed mine support services are carried out in a safe, healthy, and environmentally sound manner, and we will not relent in our efforts to ensure that we achieve this. Mr. Speaker, I humbly say to the good people of Apieti that the Akufo-Addo government, the government of the people, will without fail offer them the necessary support, leadership, comfort, and solidarity in their time of great need and adversity. Mr. Speaker, without a shred of doubt, the government of President Akufo-Addo is fully on top of this matter. Mr. Speaker, just as our Lord Jesus Christ said to his disciples in the words of Holy Scripture, in the Gospel according to John 16:22, and I quote, "Now is your time of grief, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy," end quote. Mr. Speaker, we wish the injured eternal healing, and may the souls of the departed in Apieti and the faithful departed abide in the bosom of the Lord until the last day of the resurrection, when we shall meet again. I thank you for your attention. There we go.
Honorable members, this is a statement from the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and it is a statement on Order 72, not necessarily only 70, because 70 deals with just announcement or statement on government policy, and 72 deals with a matter of urgent public importance or of a personal nature. And so I will allow members to make, as stated by the standing orders, comments which are not meant to generate debate. And there's time limit to that. We still have one more statement, so I want to plead with members to be a bit brief in their comments. Yes, the ranking member of the Committee on Lands and Forestry, Lands and Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ours is still forestry, right?
Yes.
Lands and Forestry. Yes.
Lands and Forestry, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this statement ably presented by the Minister of Lands and natural resources. Mr. Speaker, as a logical thing to do, it requires that at every single event that causes pain and tragedy to the people of Ghana, we would expect a responsible government to demonstrate that they care for the people. And for the Minister of State responsible for the area of concern to come to Parliament and speak to the people through us, to let them understand that it is a tragedy that affects every other person. Mr. Speaker, this particular explosion that happened was of immense tragedy and caused a lot of pain, destruction of humans and materials, and as a result, touched everywhere else. When it happened, I was not in this country. I was in Uganda with my colleagues to visit the Ugandan Parliament and was informed about what happened. In fact, I was called by a person from the CNN because he thought I was in Ghana to enable him get in touch with somebody he could speak to. That tells you the extent to which the news went. And Mr. Speaker, and this is not the only thing that has happened in Ghana. It is becoming one too many for explosions to happen in this country. It tells us that there must be something we should be doing that we are not doing right. And I will expect that the minister, after making this statement, should go the extra length in finding out exactly what to do and what he must do to curb any future such situation. Mr. Speaker, it is good that the public is called upon to help, and it is refreshing to note also that when it happened throughout the country, everybody was concerned and there was demonstration of emotions and desire to see the matter addressed. I was happy to hear also that the Vice President visited the place, but was a little surprised to note that the promise to the people did not go far enough. The Speaker, it must just not be to support them now and now, but to support them in ways that will help them to restore themselves to good life as they were living. Houses were destroyed, people were destroyed, lives were dislocated. The Speaker, at one point in time, a report came out that a man who sent his son out for something couldn't find the son and was in a hurry to go and fetch the son, and an explosion occurred subsequent to the earlier one, and he lost his son and he himself was lost. Mr. Speaker, there are very, very sad situations that occurred. Now, what happens is that, Mr. Speaker, every single time an event occurs, the police or authorities must take control of the incident scene. It didn't happen in this particular instance, and you found people rushing there to take pictures, others just for sightseeing. And then when the second explosion came, a lot of them got injured and some died. Mr. Speaker, it's important that we take particular notice of this, that the police must take authority at every single time an event like this occurs, so you don't have people plunge into it and get killed. Mr. Speaker, the investigation that must be conducted must start soonest and must bring to us a full and comprehensive report of what happened. It will help in future decisions. Mr. Speaker, since you have already cautioned that we should not speak too much, I will urge the minister to work harder in getting a report on it. I'm already happy that he has taken some strict actions, including the fact that some people were withdrawn from office until full investigations are done. I'm urging that they should work hard, as the Vice President has promised, to give the people some solace, some help, some support, so that they would be able to keep up with life. They should not be allowed to sleep outside considerably for a long time. The Speaker, it is an event that has caused us a lot of pain, and I send my condolences to the many, many people who have been affected. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister for Interior.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I should contribute to the statement ably made by the Honorable Minister for Lands, in which he captures the essentials, a panoramic view of what His Excellency the President has been able to initiate to make sure that the emergency services went immediately to take action. I totally agree with what he has taken as far as it concerns the explosives, the transportation, and it is clear that the Chief Inspector of Mines is the Chief Inspector of Explosives, and it's his duty to actually produce an incident report. The Minister has been proactive, pursuant to the directions of Mr. President, and I think that everything has gone on well. For my part, I want to bring the dimension of the police into the matter, and indeed the other security agencies. They acted timelessly. And the honorable member on the other side was talking about a certain attitude that we need to deploy and also warn people against. The attitude of people rushing when there's an accident, especially when it involves vehicles carrying inflammables. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, before I come back, a few days later in Kasi, there was an explosion involving a petrol tanker. And anytime we have accidents involving petrol tankers, what the residents do is that they rush to the tanker trying to take some of the fuel. A very, very dangerous exercise. And most of the time, we have explosions killing a lot of people. In this case, the driver, even though the police are yet to complete their investigations, the driver of the truck after the accident was calling on people to move away from the tanker. The people were rushing in.
Exclusive efforts of both the Ghana police and Ghana army went to the scene immediately overnight to make sure that there were no unexploded explosives which would then cause harm. And even though the Vice President led the delegation to the site, all that we did there was guided to make sure that the crime scenes potential evidence was not taken. So it was a technically managed job that did all it could to preserve the scene for further investigation. I share all the comments that the last minister made, and I'm sure that we are continually reviewing the situation. And we will make sure that at the end of the investigation, we, the security agencies, together with the Minister of Finance, will do all that is necessary to achieve the President's goals in this country. All to ensure that all our victims are taken care of, and that lessons are learned from this, avoid every errors, and above all, that this country works together
as it responded positively to this event, and to work together to make sure that Ghana continues to be a good example in these matters. Indeed, the LI 2177, we believe, will be reviewed to see if it's adequate, and we would work with the Minister for Lands to make sure that we achieve that. For now, all I have to say is that the security agencies are still on the ground and working, fire service, and getting us more information. At the end of the day, the report will be used to make sure that Ghana does not suffer the recurrence of such an event. Thank you.
Honorable John Jinapo.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, let me join my colleagues to first and foremost to commiserate with the victims of this unfortunate disaster. But firstly, Mr. Speaker, let me commend you personally, because I do recall that following this incident, you, on behalf of Parliament, issued a statement to express our condolence to all the affected victims. I also do recall that you personally followed with a phone call to my personal self, and I think some members of the committee, on what we can do as Parliament to also play our role. Mr. Speaker, I'm even fortified that by your action, not only have you shown that we should portray the Ghanaian culture with your beautiful dress, but by your action, you have also demonstrated that this Parliament, under your leadership, is up and doing what is right. Mr. Speaker, like the Minister said, he does not want us to prejudice the investigation. It is our hope that when the investigation or the outcome of the investigation is ready, and I'm referring to the report, is made available especially to members of Parliament for our perusal. Because indeed, the Committee on Mines and Energy, which has supervisory role in the mining sector, I've already had discussions with the chairman. We intend visiting the community under your instruction to see for ourselves the extent of damage and also to ascertain what government is doing in order to ameliorate the suffering of the people. Mr. Speaker, the LI that the minister referred to was passed in 2012. Following that, there's been a lot of technological changes, there's been a lot of advancement, and I think that the time has come to take a second look at the LI itself. Because if you read the LI, specifically Regulation 33, the permit to carry explosives, I think that with new technology, a lot more can be done. But Mr. Speaker, like the Minister of Interior underscored, more often than not, I think that the issue of education ought to be given a lot of priority, because most times when accidents happen, the first thing people do is, rather than moving away from the accident scene, a lot of people move there, especially with their mobile phones, to take pictures. And I think that that should find expression in terms of educating the Ghanaian on such incidents. Mr. Speaker, just to wind up, some of us would suggest, and I hope the minister would take this on board, even as he attempts to set up a committee to review the whole mining sector. Is it not possible that these explosives are manufactured close to the mining centers, rather than manufacturing the explosives at a far place and transporting them through densely populated areas to the mining sectors? It is my hope that NADMO would be resolved, because we are all aware of the difficulty that NADMO is facing, so that we can deal with the aftermath of such incidents. But Mr. Speaker, in ending up, let me assure you, Mr. Speaker, and this House, that the Committee of Mines and Energy would be leading up to its expectation. We are monitoring events, and we would pursue the necessary course of action through your guidance when we find it necessary. On that note, Mr. Speaker, let me once again commiserate and express our condolences to the bereaved families, and to appeal to government to hasten the relief effort and ensure that life is brought back to normality. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honorable Minister.